Hi everyone, welcome back. This is one of those videos where I try to find a theme in your comments, in your questions, and come up with a video that addresses some of them. And here I'm going to talk about underscores in Python. Maybe you know what this is, but I had to learn about these I don't know, a few years ago when I started getting into Python. I thought of sharing that knowledge with you so you don't have to search anywhere else. And again, if you want to be notified of these videos in future, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, I know you're generous, just hit the thanks button. Okay, so what is this about? I am going to talk about what underscores mean in Python. When you look at some code on GitHub or wherever, when you see a single underscore before a variable, a single underscore after, and double before, double after, and so on. So what do they mean? So I am going to talk about that, and hopefully in a very quick way. And I'm going to share the Colab notebook that I'm going to use as part of this video. Look for the link down in the description, and let's jump into our Colab then. Okay, and I try to add as much notes as possible so it's self-explanatory, but again, if you have any questions, just go ahead and comment underneath the video. So let's look at a few scenarios here. So I thought let me fix this. I always do some sort of boo-boo when it comes to these. Okay, now they are organized as a list, so it's easy for you to see. Okay, single underscores only is a scenario we're going to start off with, and then a underscore after the variable, underscore before, double underscore before, after, and double underscore before. Yeah, so these are the scenarios. So let's go ahead and start by looking at single underscore only, just an underscore. And I use this in, I don't know, let's go ahead and look at that file. So I used it many times in my previous videos, and some of you asked me exactly what that is. Like, where is it? Yeah, right here, for example. Yeah, let me, oh God, I can't see my keyboard. Okay, so this underscore right here, you probably know what that is. Yeah, just by looking at the context right here. So that's exactly what I'm trying to replicate here. So from TensorFlow, let's go ahead and import the MNIST dataset. When you import an MNIST dataset, when you load it, it gives you both xtrain, ytrain, xtest, and ytest, right? So let's go ahead and do that. And it should be downloading that, yeah, data. And you can see my xtrain is 60,000 data points, each 28 by 28 pixel image. And my ytrain corresponding labels for that x is 60,000. And my xtest is 10,000 data points with 28 by 28 images. And again, if you're watching this, if you're not a regular viewer of my channel, then you know, and if you're not into machine learning, just think of this as 60,000 data points with some attributes and corresponding labels. 60,000 data points, 10,000 for testing, and 10,000. Now let's say I am putting together an autoencoder, which means I don't care about the labels. I only care about the training values like xtrain and xtest. I don't care about this ytrain. This is when it's customary for us to actually put this underscore right there as a variable that captures that that list. Or whatever that these values are that are going to be extracted. Now it doesn't. It's not like it's not extracting it. It's just that it's a variable that we're using here. It can be, I don't know, ABC right there. It doesn't matter, but it's customary to use an underscore right here. So it's nothing special. So when you do that, you can see that we are still extracting 60,000 data points and 10,000 data points. The underscore gets assigned initially and reassigned and reassigned and reassigned. This is the thing is we're saying, hey, I don't care about this other thing. So go ahead and assign it to a dummy variable. That's what that is. And this underscore reflects, like if you look at the shape right there, it shows 10,000, right? So this is nothing but that 10,000. Initially, it probably got assigned that, and later on it got assigned to this. So it's just overwritten over and over. That's pretty much it. Yeah, so this is one scenario where we use the underscore. Another scenario is, let's say you are doing a for loop. Okay, for whatever in 1000, do something something. But if that is doesn't matter, if that variable, like instead of for I in, you can do for underscore in, right? That's another area where I saw some people use underscore. And another thing where underscore can be very helpful is when you're typing large numbers in Python. Like if you want to type 1 billion, if you just do 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0, then it's like, oh, how many zeros let me count. If you're like me, you probably need like glasses. And then you cannot put commas, right? So instead of doing that, you can put underscores. And here you have 9 zeros, so this is 1 billion. So when I print this out, there you go, that is 1 billion. Okay, so what happens if you actually put commas? Yeah, so let's just do 1 3 comma 1 2 3. Let's just do that. And when you run that, it's that is not what you want. Okay, let's not get into what's going on there. Let me just put 1 2 3. Okay, right there. So this is definitely not 1 billion, right? So you want 1 billion, and underscore gives you 1 billion. Anyway, let me remove this so it's not confusing. Okay, so that is just underscore. It's nothing special. It's just some dummy variable. And in this case, it is special. It's just helping you with better readability. Now let's look at single underscore after ABC. I believe I have used this a couple of times also in some of my code. It allows us to use reserved keywords as variables. Some of the keywords are reserved, right? So ID, def, class. You cannot assign, I think I have it right there. Yeah, you cannot assign a variable called class. You cannot do that because class is a reserved keyword. So if I do that, it's going to yell at me saying that, hey, that's invalid syntax because it's expecting a class definition right there. So, but if I really want to use class, why would I want to do that? Because in conversation, right, when we say, hey, you have a 5-class problem, where class 1 is cats, class 2 is dogs, and class 3 is something else. So if you want to assign class to some, really you're forced to use it, or def or ID, then a good way of doing that is just add an underscore next to it. Then it modifies whatever that into something different. Then Python doesn't care, right? So of course, stay away from using any of these reserved keywords as variables. Try to find alternatives, but if you have to, then underscore after it is going to let you do that. That's one reason why you will see when you're reading someone else's code, that's what that means. Yeah, that's exactly why they have used that underscore after. Single underscore before ABC. This has a bit more meaning. It usually represents variables or objects that are used internally within a function, within a class. So what does that mean? So let's create an external module Python file where we store our variables. So for example, I think I already did that. Yeah. So I have an external file called my_variables.py. All I have there is not a function, not a class, nothing, just 2 variables. One, a equals to 5. The other one, underscore a equals to 10. Okay, now let's come back. I stored that in my Google Drive, and I am copying that into my temporary execution location. So let's go ahead and do that. It's now available for import. I hope you know how to do this. Again, I try to give at least 1 or 2 information, pieces of information that you will benefit from my videos, not in addition to the primary topic. In this case, you probably, I don't know if you know this, but you'll appreciate that. You learned this if you didn't know this before. If you're working in Colab, you have external modules. You want to import external modules, and the module is just a Python file. I hope you know that. And in this case, this is an external Python file. I want to import it. For example, the typical way I do is I store my deep learning models in like a specific file, and then I import that module or file, if you want to call it, specific functions from that module here. But now we are just importing variables. Okay, so from my variables, which is that file, I'm going to import everything, right? So this is a wildcard way of importing your variables, which means it imports everything. It drives me crazy when I see this in external code, because then it makes it a debugging or reverse engineering nightmare. But people do that. Let's do it. Now let's access variable A, because when we import that, I should be able to get variable A. There you go. 5, right? So that's exactly what we have. Now let's do underscore a. Let's do print underscore a, and it says, hey, it's not defined. So when you do this type of import, these type of hidden variables or hidden values, I mean, they are not available externally unless you specifically call them. And how do you specifically call them? Import my variables and my variables.a, my variables.underscore a. Now we should see both 5 and 10. So they're available when you deliberately call them, but they're not available when you use some sort of a wildcard type of import. Okay, again, another example. Now let's move on to double underscore before and after, especially for those of you who work with classes. You always probably know this more than I do, which is when you define a class, you always start with this init, right? So this is our constructor, and why do we use init? It creates an instance of a class, right? So as part of your class, you have a constructor, and you see how you have double before and double after. These are called dunder class methods, which is a super amazing short form of double underscore. Yeah. So these double underscore before and after are typically referred to as dunder class methods, and init is one of them. You can have print can be another one of those, and I think I included another example, but let's go through this one first. Okay, so we have a class called person. Under that, we have a function for first name and age in years. And I'm defining name is first name, age is age in years. So let's go ahead and define that function. You know how these work. So I'm defining Srini object, which is a person with the name Srinivas and age 21, I wish, but let's say when I was 21. Yeah. So that's my Srini object, and when I print Srini, it should just show that object is located right there. And you see the underscore main. We'll get to that main in a second, but this is another double underscore. Okay, now within Srini object we have name, so let's go ahead and print out name. You get this. So you can see how init and main, we already see two places where this double underscore gets used. Now we just looked at this main, but again, I'm adding another snippet of information. Most of you probably know it, but again, my tutorials are viewed by a lot of beginners, so I try to cover some core concepts that you should be knowing if you are a beginner. So you will see this quite often. If init equals to main, if underscore init equal to main, then do something. What does that mean? Well, Python files, as I mentioned earlier, are referred to as modules. And when any interpreter, in this case Jupyter Notebooks, runs a file, or in typical interpreters, when they run a module or when they run a file contains what? Variables, functions, classes, and a whole bunch of stuff. Then the name, underscore name, is set as main. This name, think of this as, hey, what is the temporary name for my file right here? So in this case, this is tips and tricks 44 underscores in Python, but for all practical purposes, it is referred to as underscore name underscore. That is the name of this. And if that equals to main, main is what we are working on right now. And if I import external modules, then the underscore name is going to be a different name. But if that is run right here, it is equals to main. I hope I'm not confusing you. So if a module is imported from another module, like in this case, I was importing what? A different file from somewhere else, right? My variables is something. Then the name is equal to my variables. But because I'm running my current file is always underscore main. So when you say if init, this is wrong, sorry. I made a mistake. If name equals to main, okay? So if name equals to main, that means we are in the current file. So go ahead and run it. And I'll show you a good example. So even if my English, I struggle to communicate, hopefully the example should communicate. Okay, so I said the current file is set to the variable main, right? So if I print it, you see how this file's name is set to main. All I'm printing is underscore name. Let's create a new one. I don't want you to be confused. name. Let's print this. It should print main right there. So the name right now for this file is main. Okay. So earlier we imported my variables, right? So what is the name of that one? It should print my variables. Yeah, because that is the name that got assigned to that module that we imported. Main is the name that got assigned to the module I'm working on right now, the current module. No matter what the file name is, it is main. Okay, so when you say if name equals to main, that says, hey, when I'm executing this code in my current file, go ahead and do something. That's what this means. So let me explain that a bit further. So I'm defining a function called my function, and all it does is prints sum equals to 3 plus 4, and it prints 3 plus 4 it should show me 7. When I run that, it should not give me any output, because I'm not defining this function, and I'm just defining the function, but I'm not running it. Yeah. In fact, if I just come here and say my underscore function, this is like running this function. So you get, okay, my sum of 3 plus 4 is 7, right? So, okay. So let's run the same function this time if name equals to main. So that's what this part actually does. So go ahead and define a complex, whatever, class, functions, and all that stuff, and say if name equals to main. So this is a quick way of testing your file before you get it ready for any external import. So if I run this, now it should actually give me the output. So in summary, when do I use if name equals to main? The way I use it is if I have a Python module, a Python file that's got like a class with multiple functions, with multiple methods, functions, whatever you want to call them, and I want that to be imported to some other external Python file. But then before doing that, I'm like, hey, let me check like with certain parameters, is it doing what it is supposed to? I add this if name equals to main, and then whatever I need to run underneath that same file, and then run those. Okay, so that's a quick use case of how I use that. Okay, enough about double underscore before and after. Now let's get down to double underscore before only. Yeah, not after. ABC before. So this is used for something called name mangling. And this is something that I learned quite recently, I should say, because I never found the need to do this. And then I was Google searching for, okay, how the heck do I not overwrite my variables inside the functions? Whatever the need was, I had to Google search, and then I'm like, wow, I didn't know about it. So now you'll know about it. So double underscore before ABC it's used for name mangling. What does that mean? So it's a process that overwrites identifiers in a class to avoid conflict between subclasses. I'll give you an example so it makes more sense. Let's define a class called person with name underscore age. Again, I'm giving underscore age right there. Yeah. And I am giving double underscore, let's call it nickname. Okay. Again, this underscore does nothing, right? So it's just I'm just using all of these so it summarizes the discussion right there. And let's call that myself equals to person right there. And let's look at the dir myself. I hope you know that. So you have this object called myself right now, who is a person with these attributes. And you want to look at all those, let me look at the names. Oh, it just prints this way. That's okay. So let's look at everything that's stored under myself. So when you do dir myself, it shows you, okay, there is underscore class, there is this, there is dict, there is dir, all of these, but we should see name, age, and nickname under here. So name, age, probably towards the end. You see underscore age right here because we gave this as underscore age. That's my variable name. Yeah. Name is name. But if you look at underscore underscore nickname, it's not stored as underscore underscore nickname, but it actually added the person to it, right? The person right there. It added the class name and the nickname right there. So underscore person, nickname. Why is it useful? Let's continue the discussion. So if you print myself.name and myself underscore person nickname, you can actually see that it's printing my full name, my nickname right there. Everything works great. Fine. So Name and age are variables right there. Name and age can be overwritten if you have another subclass, but this nickname is not overwritten, and let's do that exercise down here. Okay, now I'm defining another subclass called another person, not me, not myself, another person. And here the name is David, age is 42, let's say, and nickname is Dave. Okay, and I added double underscore again right there. And let's create another instance, not myself, another person. Let's run it. And now let's look at all the attributes of this not myself. And you have all of these. And if I go all the way back down here, you should see that I have my name right there, which I also had here. I also had age. I got age. But then if you look at nickname, I have two of these available. Another person nickname, person nickname. Both are available. It's not overwritten. I hope this makes sense. Yeah. So I have the nickname for Dave. I have the nickname for Srini. So both are available. So you can go ahead and print. You see not myself.name. It only gives you David. Okay, but not myself, another person nickname, Dave. Not myself, person nickname, Srini. So both the person myself and the others are also available. That's a horrible example now that I see, but I hope it conveys the message. Yeah. So now you know a bit more about these underscores. And again, I'll try to keep up with these tips and tricks as I run into some of your questions and I find these themes. But again, please do subscribe to this channel if you want to be notified of such videos in future. Thank you.